wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we are breaking down the great sport of wrestling week in, week out here in Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney. Thank you to everybody tuning in tonight live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, as well as the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page. We love having you on to really stir up the conversation. And we've got a lot to talk about this week, certainly, as we are now in the year 2024. As you're hanging out tonight, feel free to throw a question or a shout out to your favorite team, favorite coach, favorite athlete in the chat. And we'll get your comments up on the screen to discuss in real time. And so one small request before we dive into everything. Not everybody can tune in live. We have a ton of you that tune in live week in, week out, and we love it. Some people can't, though, and that is understandable. Family time or other competitions are taking place. So a lot of people come back and watch on replay. It's a lot easier for everybody to find it the day after, a couple of days after, if you hit that like button and then share this when it's all said and done. If you do that, it helps everybody that can't be here live find it a little easier. So thank you for doing that. All right. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring on our panel tonight, Coach Al Fontes. Al, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and everyone in Idaho and abroad.
Yeah, sounds great. Also here tonight, Brian Zollinger. Brian, what's going on?
Diehards, how we doing?
Good to see you. And usually Jacob Eck is also on the show with us, guys. He says he's on the way. So we wait with bated breath for Jacob to arrive. Of course, we always start the show with the best thing that we saw from the past week of competition. Al, I'll go ahead and tee it up for you first. What was the best thing that you saw?
I was tracking the Sierra Nevada Classic. I mean, overall, we had a pretty good representation there at that tournament with Caldwell. Thunder Ridge was there, and they represented real well. And Minico was there, and they had several kids play. So I just think overall the representation of Idaho wrestling at Sierra Nevada for the teams that we sent there, they did very well. I believe Minico took sixth place there, and Caldwell was in the top 16 for the boys. And then in the girls, Thunder Ridge, I think, placed second, I believe, which is really good for this state. And I think the Caldwell girls were sixth. So that's one of the best things I saw.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Thunder Ridge in particular. That's what really jumped off the page for me, Al, when I was looking at the results for sure. We've got a couple of shout outs in the chat, Brian, and then we will get to the best thing that you saw from the past week. But here's, of course, Jacqueline representing Post Falls Trojan in the house. Happy New Year, Idaho. Yes, certainly. And of course, Skylar Beck, another great North Idaho standout. She says Cul-de-sac High School has a junior high team this year. So excited. Brian, that is exciting because Cul-de-sac, as far as I know, doesn't compete in any varsity sports on their own. They all have to go with, whatever school is up the road. That's really exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Good to see for sure.
Yeah.
Opportunity is great.
Yeah.
We love that. Okay, Brian. So what was the best thing that you saw from this past week?
There wasn't a lot going on this week. So, I would have said also the Sierra Nevada Spring Classic, those teams that did well. A couple of the other tournaments that we had teams at, Post Falls didn't take, all of their horses, but they took quite a few and still won the tournament they were at in Washington. Without a full team, they won that. So I thought that was impressive, but I'd have to say the best thing I saw was Thunder Ridge girls taking second, Minico boys taking sixth at the Sierra Nevada Classic. That was pretty cool, pretty dead week of wrestling, but the teams we had traveling, like I said, Post Falls did great. So it was good to see all those teams that, a couple smaller tournaments in Idaho. I think New Plymouth won the tournament they were at. I think that was in Glens Ferry, so they did a good job. So not a lot going on, but those team results from Idaho were fun to watch.
Definitely. We were talking about the performance of the Thunder Ridge girls and, of course, girls wrestling in the state of Idaho. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago the Andrew Beck Memorial Tournament was held in Grangeville. Skylar says, "I'm keeping my dad's legacy going." Yes, you are, Skylar. You wear that Beck name with pride because I know he's watching from above and really excited for all the great things that are happening in Idaho girls wrestling. Lynn is ready for Rollie Lane. Get ready for the Post Falls Trojans. Yes, we will be talking about Rollie Lane ad nauseum coming up. For sure. Andrew Ollinger is in the house from the West Side Pirates, Brian, over in your neck of the woods. East, they're a little further south. East Idaho. Let's go West Side, and especially Aaron McDaniel. Brian, I know from football, Aaron McDaniel is a beast at defensive tackle for West Side, so I can only imagine what he's like, in the circle too.
Exactly. Same thing, West Side, impressive team. I was at the North Fremont tournament this year and saw them, and I think at those team duels, they may have went undefeated. So, they got the Gunderson brothers there at 160, Colton Gunderson, returning state champion, I believe. And we pushing, but McDaniel's beast. There's some good kids on that West Side squad for sure.
Yep. You mentioned Gunderson. Jeremy says the best thing he saw was Jacob Shaw over Gunderson at 160 in Glens Ferry. Yes, that is a big victory for Jacob Shaw from New Plymouth. Definitely.
Yep. So that was a huge victory.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, guys. The best thing that I saw is actually about something coming up this weekend. I was on social media a little earlier this evening, and I saw that the Rollie Lane Wrestling Invitational is up to 98 schools. And so that is simply incredible, guys. Officials say 90 of the 98 schools will field boys teams, and 70 of the 98 schools will field girls teams. 98 schools. That is remarkable, Al, for the Rollie Lane Invite.
Well, at the pace we're going, it's going to be 90 and 90, so we may have to cut back a little bit because it's getting big. Girls are only growing. The trend numbers are only going up, so it's interesting. That's great. Great for both boys and girls.
We are going to show a list of all the teams that are competing at Rollie Lane this weekend. I already know we're missing a couple because the list keeps changing and more teams are committing. So when we show that list coming up here in a little bit, if you don't see your favorite school, throw it in the chat and we'll make sure, your team gets the proper acknowledgments there. And yes, Amy says not all of the 98 are actually going. Some listed are girls only. Yes, it is, but a combination of boys teams, girls teams, and schools that are bringing both. It is 98 schools represented in some form or fashion, Al, including Buhl. It sounds like Buhl's girls will head over to Rollie Lane. Buhl boys, of course, are going to stay back for what do we believe? It's the 50th annual Buhl Invitational.
Yeah. That's the thing we talked about last podcast. I think the Buhl Invite, from what I've spoken with people, other than the COVID year, it might have been a break. I'm not 100% sure, but this is the 50th annual. Other than the Red Halverson, I know that one's been around a long time. You guys probably know more. Raleigh's been around 24 years. I'm interested. What other tournaments even come close? 50 years is a long time. That's a lot of tradition.
Brian, Tiger Grizz, how long has that been going?
At least 40. So
at least 40.
Yeah. So it's getting up there. It was 80s for sure. It could be pushing 50. I'd have to look for sure.
Yeah. And Tri-State's been around for a while too, right? I mean, I wrote about top tournaments 20-something years ago, and Tri-State was one of them. So they've been around at least 20 plus.
Yeah. So we want to post this to the chat too. We're trying to think of the longest standing tournaments in Idaho wrestling. Buhl turning 50 this weekend. You said Rollie Lane's 24. Yeah, you're halfway there. I mean, it's good luck for sure.
Tiger Grizz is 43rd this year.
Wow, 43 years. 43 years.
40. Yeah, 43 this year.
Yep.
Wow. That's incredible. And Red Halverson's been around a long time too. Domenico, I'm sure that's been up there at least 30 years. I don't know. I'd be interested in knowing that one.
Yeah. So we got Amy in the chat. Of course, Amy, big Buhl supporter. She says the Buhl Invite did happen during COVID, Al. The Magic Valley was all kinds of open. It was, unless you were way up in the Wood River area, and then they were uber on lockdown. But so they didn't miss the COVID year. And she says Tri-State 52 years, Al.
Wow.
Pretty
Wow,
impressive.
that's a lot of history there.
Yeah, and Bridget backs that up. Tri-State, 52nd year.
Wow, that's good history. Thank you very much.
This is why we do this, because we like to pretend we know a lot, Al, but sometimes, hey, we turn it to the diehards and we say, hey, we need help.
I'm trying to get it all up here. It's going to take years.
Yep, for sure. So, yeah, kind of a cool deal that the Buhl Invite is happening this weekend, Brian.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, it really has been kind of a measuring stick for all of the Class 3A schools. You know, the 3A teams that are really serious about going to state and competing typically go to the Buhl Invite.
Yeah, and it looks the same this year. I mean, they're all there at South Fremont. I think I see South Fremont on the Raleigh list, so they might be splitting their team up. So might not get a good preview there. But with South Fremont, Teton shows up, Marsh Valley's there, and then you got some of the the 2As. Ryrie usually goes to that tournament, so it's going to be a tough and a good measuring to stick to see some of those that we're not going to see. I think Snake River's usually there, so a lot of those 3A teams that are going to be in the mix for the title will be there. So we'll have a good idea after this, kind of where they're at for sure.
Yeah, and I did not see Jerome on the Rollie Lane Invite, so maybe they're going to stay local this week and go. Maybe a Jerome fan can let me know in the chat, but that would be a good competition as well, coming from the 4A ranks, definitely. Xavier Henry says, "Sup, Al?"
What's up? That's he's a kid I've been mentoring from California for a lot of years. Love you, brother. Thanks for checking in.
That's awesome.
Good kid. He's a two-time state. He went to state twice in California, section placer. Both of his matches to get to state came down into triple overtime, both years in a row to qualify. So you talk about a warrior. This kid's tough.
Ooh, that's big league for sure. Yeah. Tom says Century is splitting their roster up between Raleigh and the Buhl Invites. There you go. Diamondbacks a 4A team. They're going to have some kids competing at Buhl, which is impressive. Al, we talked about, you just mentioned Xavier from California, and we know the kind of caliber of athletes California has on the wrestling scene. There are some California teams that are coming to the Rollie Lane Invite this weekend. Jacob says Central Catholic bringing one of the best 32-pounders in the country, Al. This guy is the real deal coming from California.
Yeah, that's Victor Alexander Gutierrez. He's currently ranked number 2 in the state. He's a sophomore. He was top 12 last year. He was in the blood rounds, but that says a lot in that state with one division. So I expect him to be in the mix. We'll see. We have good Idaho kids too, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. So, and Al, we got Capistrano Valley. They're a southern section team, but I think they're young. Well, I don't know too much about them, but back in the 80s they were a traditional power, but I think they're young now, so it'd be fun.
Al, you did some research of kind of, the top guys to watch from some of these out-of-state teams that are coming up this weekend, including California, that Central Catholic squad. You got a kid listed at 106, a freshman, Eleazar Valdez. He's ranked 22nd in the state. And we might go, well, 22nd, what's that? But in California, that's pretty legit for a freshman.
So think of it not as a number 22. Think of, if you're in the top 12 to 15, you're a super stud. If you're 16 to 25, you're in a tight cluster that you're right there to get the state and you can possibly medal. So that's just very deceiving. He's probably a decent freshman.
For sure. Sean giving a shout out to Central Catholic.
Sean knows he's from that area, so he knows.
Yes. And how about this Central Catholic Youth Wrestling watching tonight? Thanks for the kind words, Coach Eck, because Jacob was talking a little bit about the coach. He won Midlands back when Midlands was Midlands. Emilio Saavedra.
Oh, Saavedra, another stud. Yeah, he was he wrestled for Modesto High School. He was a stud, one of the best in the country in high school back in the day.
And now he's coaching them. So that's big league. That's really exciting stuff for Idaho. Al, this is what we've kind of talked about, right? Mm-hmm. Idaho has now risen to a level nationally where we are getting some of these premier out-of-state teams to come to our backyard and compete here in Idaho, which is
I think it's great. It's great to measure yourself against other states and other competitions. It's only going to help you when you get up to that next level at state and beyond. I think it's great.
Yeah. We were asking a little earlier, guys, and real quick, we've talked about Rollie Lane. We've talked about the Buhl Invite coming up this weekend. Cody says, don't sleep on the battle for the M. Tri-dual Thursday night. Madison, Middleton, Minico. This is actually going to be pretty fun, Brian.
Yeah, I've never heard it called the battle for the M. I love this. And then I was wondering, is that what Al's hat is up there, or is that just random?
No, it's actually municipal. It's Mark Wahlberg's product. He's got all the kinds of gear.
Well, now we got the battle.
Yeah, the big M right there.
And that's 3 good teams. That's going to be a fun duel. I'd like to see that. Where is that, Cody? Is that in Boise this weekend over at Middleton? Because that'd be something fun to do Thursday night. Madison, one of the top 5A. Middleton's right there competing. They've got some great kids, and Minico obviously in the mix for 4A. So that's going to be 3 good duels.
Yeah, I would wonder, Minico's kind of right in the middle there between Madison and Middleton. It would make sense for everybody to meet in Minico. But yeah, Cody, let us know where that's happening. For the record, I kind of like Minico in that tri-duel. I know it'd be a tough matchup, but I think Minico could.
Is this the first, obviously, first time they've done this? Because if so, it's great to start good traditions like this. Yeah. It really is. It's good for wrestling.
Yeah.
Sport.
No doubt. Annie is here tonight repping the Timberlake Tigers. She says, Raleigh, here we come. Shout out to our 126, Paul Sundstrom. Timberlake making the trip down from the mighty north, Brian.
Yeah. 98 teams. We got somebody from everywhere. And, I can't wait to see some of these battles that we just don't get to see, 4A against 3A, 5A against 3A. I mean, there's going to be a lot of mixes, and then you have the out-of-state matches in. And, man, it's tough to call some of these brackets. It'd be fun to do a fantasy pool and see who gets it right, because you have this out-of-state stuff in the mix. And there's some of these weights I'm not sure how to even handicap.
Yeah, it'd be impossible. Ryan is here tonight repping North Idaho as well, repping Priest River. That's not far from where I'm at, guys. And Priest River, good 2A program there. Okay, we were talking about some of the long-standing tournaments in Idaho history. Buhl Invite 50th annual this weekend. Tri-State just had its 52nd edition a couple weeks ago. Corey says, I have a program from Tiger Grizz from 1969. So we're talking 55 years there, Brian.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, because I had just pulled it up, and newspaper Post Register had that it was in 2021, said it would be the 40th. So that's 55 years. And Corey would know if she's got a program, that's proof. She's teaching the newspaper or something.
That's right. Well, just another classic fake news. No, I'm just kidding, Brian. Okay, we were Central Catholic says, hey, thanks for having us at the Rollie Lane. We look forward to competing hard. We look forward to watching you guys and competing too. That's going to be so much fun. Okay, we were talking about the battle for the M, right? It's Middleton, Minico, Madison. Marcy says it's at Middleton High School. And David says it's at Middleton also. And Cody says it's at Middleton, starts at 4, bring the fam. Al, I like Cody. He could kind of be the hype man for these big premier events.
Yeah, the promoter. That's great.
Yeah, I love this. It's a nice tradition, and I actually might just show up for that. Last year we had that. Who did we? Oh, it was South Fremont and
Meridian, right?
Meridian. Yeah, that was a great duel the night before Rollie Lane, because I think all the teams get in there that night. So might actually be something to do over there.
Well, our Rocky's going to wrestle Coeur d'Alene, so we go Thursday night. We're going to have a duel, so sort of a warm-up match before the tournament.
Cool. That is awesome. Tom says Madison is legit. They crushed hopes and dreams at the High Country Conference duels, Brian.
They did. They're, that's going to just, and Middleton, they've got some dogs in the middle of that lineup. So, that could be fun. And Minico, Madison could just pull that upset. They're solid for sure.
Yeah. Cody says this is the first time that the schools have done this. They got a big traveling M trophy, Al. The winning team gets to take it home and paint it their school colors.
Isn't that great? I love the tradition.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I can write about it.
Brian, I did have a question. So, because Tiger Grizz is obviously kind of your bread and butter. I know in football for Tiger Grizz, the winning team gets to paint the goalposts at the football stadium in their team colors. Is there some sort of attachment with wrestling as well? Do they get to paint something in school colors?
There's not, because, if it was just in all the other sports where it's just, a basketball game, Grizz against the Tigers, there's something, but the wrestling tournament, there's no cool tradition like that. It's always been finals under the spotlight with the flames and stuff like that, but no cool painting the basketball court or anything fun.
Okay, interesting. Jed is here from South Fremont. Does Brian have a mullet to go with that mustache? Killer.
I'm working on
Give it
it.
back, Brian.
Tis the season, guys.
Business in the front, party in the back, right?
Hey, can we grow our mullet? Look it.
Oh, that's funny, Al, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
funny.
Well, we have a group chat that we, use for the Matt Chat Prepcast where we toss around ideas and little tidbits and notes, Al. And this week, as we were, preparing for the show, you started kind of looking at who are the wrestlers that have already committed to go compete at the next level at college. And already we're into, just into the new year. And already the list is like pretty impressive of who's committed, Al.
Yeah, we had early commits, and then we have the most recent commits, and it's growing. I mean, I'm impressed. I think there's like 9 out of 14 of the boys that are going D1. Got a couple going D2 and NAI and JUCO, and I only know of one girl, Nia Avelino from Caldwell. I know she's going to Eastern Oregon. I'd love to know more about some of the other girls going. I haven't seen anything yet, but want to keep building this list and sort of highlight it.
Yeah, so here's the list. And if you're watching this, maybe make your screen full size and you'll be able to read it a little easier. But Mac Mauger from Blackfoot, of course, going to Missouri, D1. Coulter Burton from Century, Oklahoma State, D1. Carson Exford from Nampa going to Wisconsin, D1. Hudson Rogers from Meridian going to Oregon State, D1. Jason Mara from Meridian. He was our Idaho Wrestler of the Week last time we did the show. He's going to D1 Stanford. Jaden Skellinger from BK. He's going to Lehigh University. That's in Pennsylvania. That's a D1 school. Tucker Bowen, Soda Springs, going to D1 Wyoming. And then we got Jackson Packer from South Fremont going to D2 Sioux Falls. Kyle Guerra from Blackfoot going to Eastern Oregon NAIA level as well. These were the early commits out. And then we've had a wave of recent commits here also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jay Castaneda, Bishop Kelly, he just committed with North Dakota State. He's joining Shiloh Jones, same college. Tragan Morin, Bridgeview, West Liberty, that's in West Virginia, D2 school. Blanford, another Middleton kid, going to Western Colorado U, D2. And then Hoyt Voss is going to be going up north to North Idaho College. I know they're doing a great job there. Coach Booth, I think they're ranked in the top 5 right now in the JUCO. So it'd be great to see him there. And then, as I said, Nia Avelino at Caldwell. I know she has a sister as well going to Eastern Oregon. But we also got Jackson Duncan. I think he's a Bishop Kelly kid going to Midlands, NAIA. Then Martino, he's a junior, going to be joining his brother at Princeton another year. Then Javon Johns Caldwell going to Missouri. So those are all 25, class 25 kids that are early committed for next year. So I have to say, for our per capita, it's very impressive. And, there's a lot of great coaching here, a lot of family support, and there's so many people involved with why this is happening. And it's an all hands on deck effort for many. So it's great to see.
Yeah, for sure. It is an impressive list. Hoyt in the chat, he says, I'm excited to be a Cardinal. And I know Coach Booth is excited to have you go compete. You'll help the lineup immediately up there at NIC for sure. Tom says Treasure Valley Community College over in Ontario, Oregon is recruiting for next year as a college team, boys and girls go. Idaho. Al, we talked about this a couple of times. Outside of NIC, there really isn't a college program for Idaho kids to go to. Well, now, yeah, it's Ontario, but it's like just on the other side of the border. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty much a hometown spot. So I'll be interested to see if any Idaho kids go over to TVCC also.
Yeah, I think they're a club. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're a club program trying to become a JUCO program, but I'm not 100% sure. But that would be good for wrestling.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's correct.
Yeah. And Brian, it's been this amazing run that we've been on the last couple of years of a lot of athletes getting to the next level, but high end, D1. Yeah. And eventually, some classes are going to be stronger than others. We've kind of set this bar really high, and it's just going to be hard to match that in some years. And so I think it's important to not lose sight of the fact that, yeah, it's really cool that we've got all these D1 athletes, but just in general, we're sending tons of kids off to NAIA, D2, JUCO, D1, and to really enjoy this process. There may not always be as many D1 headliners, but the fact that we're sending so many every year to college is incredible.
I want to also highlight too, writing all these articles about these kids, that list there, these are high academic students too. They're great students and great people in their community. I mean, almost everyone I've written about on there is either honor roll, honor society. They're just community, work in their community. These are great people, not just good wrestlers, but they're gonna be great people in the future in our society.
Yep.
Solid.
Yep. Yeah. Traveling around with all those kids on that list. I mean, I've seen most of those kids since 7th, 8th grade, traveled with them to, national team duels when they were in middle school, junior high, the leadership skills that those kids have. I mean, every kid on that list is just, they've got the skills. They're good human beings. So it's going to be fun to watch. And, there's more coming down the pipeline. It's going to be hard to repeat what they did in Fargo this year, but I think the senior class this year could be one of the best we've ever seen in the state. As far as the kids we had, we lost some good ones last year, but between Mauger, Skellinger, Burton, Exford, I mean, just Jackson Packer. I mean, that it's a great class, and I think they've got a shot at least this year to push for a title again, a team title at Fargo, and it'll be fun to watch. And we're reloading. We've got some great freshmen coming in, but it's going to be hard to keep this up for sure.
Yeah, and it's no secret of what these guys did through the years. You watched it. They commit to wrestling, they commit to the wrestling, they commit to family, commit to community. These kids are committed. They put the time in, a lot of thousands of hours these kids have put in. So it's not a secret. You just have to be willing to do what they've done. Yeah. They can have the same results because the talent, the coaching's here if they want to get there.
Yeah, for sure. It's been pretty impressive, no doubt. And Matt brings up a good point. He says lots of Idaho wrestlers going to the next level in other sports too. And Brian, at the end of the day, if you can get a scholarship to college and get that schooling paid for, I say go for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, get it done. And he's right. I mean, we saw the Rose Bowl. We had Idaho players playing in the Rose Bowl. You saw Kenyon Sadiq score a touchdown on the Fiesta Bowl from Skyline. I mean, he's right. And so a lot of these wrestlers you've got that have signed are going in football. I think we got the Willoughby kid with New Plymouth is signed to play football somewhere. Biggs may have signed somewhere to go, or maybe he signed to go track. But, we've got a lot of wrestlers that are signing in other sports too. Not just Idaho kid, but Idaho wrestlers going to college in other sports. So,
yeah, it's been a big couple of months for Idaho natives on the big sports scene. You talked about all those college football players. Al, the highest paid, I know it's not wrestling, but the highest paid player in the United States, the National Women's Soccer League, the highest level of professional soccer in America, is from American Falls, Maria Sanchez.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, she's the highest paid professional women's soccer player, which is
we are the hidden gem, my friend.
That's right. Yeah, and HA says other sports don't exist on the mat.
What are we doing here? Come on.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I got in trouble. I talked too much basketball last time.
Oh, no basketball.
Right. Yep, for sure. Matt says hammer throw. Yeah, that's an obvious translation of skills.
Yeah. Right. Wrestling from Cody. Cody's a great wrestler, and now we know he's going to college as a hammer thrower.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yep, no doubt. Jacob says 2024 we'll have quite a few more commits, another D1 or 2 for sure. Stay tuned. Al, you were talking about all of these, that big list of commits that we showed. You got to get it done in the classroom also. Kylan Guerra from Blackfoot, 4.0 GPA last trimester. So that's another Blackfoot kid getting it done.
These are leaders.
Kid. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, guys, we had a couple of quick shout outs here. We asked about Treasure Valley Community College. Are they going to be a club program next year? Yes, Sean says club program as of now, guys. We were talking about Tiger Grizz. Does anybody get to paint anything? Here's Coach Snyder. If Idaho Falls beats Skyline this year, we get to paint Brian's hair orange. I like it.
All right, fair enough. I'm down with that. We just got to figure out what the flip side for Coach Snyder is if Skyline wins. So Comments are open. What do you think Coach Snyder should have to do, right?
Yeah, hey, let's hear it in the chat for sure. I would love to see some stakes in Tiger Grizz. Okay, here's a question from Chris. And a couple of people in the chat have already started to answer. He says, who are your freshmen to watch at Rollie Lane this year? Al, we talked about the freshmen coming from California, but who else are you keeping an eye on?
I don't have all the names in my head, but I know Meridian has a few freshmen. Nampa has a few freshmen. Post Falls has a few freshmen. So just some of the traditional teams, but I don't have them to memory. But if I saw the list of names of wrestlers wrestling this weekend, it'd be a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, and it looks like in the chat, somebody threw out Brandon Edstrom. He's from Madison. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. And we'd love to hear from you in the chat as well. Freshmen that you're keeping an eye on that are going to be at Rollie Lane this weekend.
I think Edstrom, I think Jarrett Robinson over at Minico, 106-pounder, could be a fun one to watch. Bishop Kelly's 98-pounder, the Holton Crane's going to be fun to watch. Especially in those lower weights, there's some bigger kids coming in. American Falls has got a 182-pounder that's a freshman, Blaze Turner. But you get up to I'm genuinely interested to see how he does, because that's a big weight to come in as a freshman. But I think he's only lost 1 or 2 matches. And then Thunder Ridge had a freshman that did he medal that Onyx? Is it Kunzanitis? He's 138-pounder, so that's just brutal at Rollie Lane, but it'll be interesting. So definitely a list of good freshmen that it's going to be fun to watch. See
Mountain Home and Mountain View have some tough freshmen coming in too.
Yep.
So we'll see after this tournament if they make their mark. We will know more.
That's right. We got some more submissions from the chat. Jacqueline says Maddie Hamilton from Post Falls.
That's another one that's going to be fun to watch. He's having a great season.
Yep. Jacob says Edstrom, who we've talked about. Ridge Vale from Minico.
Bonneville.
Bonneville. Yep. Chris says you'll remember Ridge Vale's name after the weekend, Al. We'll see if Chris can go there and make his mark, right?
That's right.
For sure. Another one to watch at Rollie Lane, Riker Andreasen from Owyhee, 106-pounder. Consitis, that's the kid you were talking about, Brian, a little bit. David and Michaela also say Valero at 98 could be tough as well amongst the newcomers. So, a lot of good freshmen that are going to be there competing. Here's a question. Oh, go ahead, Al. Go ahead.
Oh, Consitis, that's the Thunder Ridge kid that placed at Sierra Nevada?
Yeah.
Okay, 38-pounder?
Yep.
Yeah, he got my attention. I'm like, who is this kid?
Yeah, just a freshman, and at 38, that's impressive.
Okay. Has a unique, I've never seen him be, okay, this is good. All right.
More freshmen, Mesher from BK. X says Mountain Home kid. I wish I could remember his name. Kevin's got your back there. Camden Kuntz.
Yes, he's
Moho,
tough.
106.
I was thinking about. He's tough.
Yep. And Brian says Avalos,
another tough one.
Yep. Greg says Kevin Muhlenberg. Cam is a stud. Matty Hatchett at 120 from Glens Ferry. Yep. Ian Avalos. Yeah. So we're getting lots of good.
Those are the names right there. I knew when I saw them.
Hopefully you took notes, and if not, you can go back and watch it on replay.
Take notes every day.
And good girls on the freshman side too. Taylor Brown from Thunder Ridge. We talked about that, taking second at the Sierra Nevada Classic. She'll be there. And then you've got the Olivia and I forget their last names also. That good freshman girls coming in. So there's some all around lots of good matches.
Yep. For sure. All right, Brian, here's a question from HA up in Lewiston. Super excited for Rollie Lane, but it's hard to look forward to brackets with so many variables. How will the weight allowance affect the brackets at Rollie Lane? Any big potential matchups? Any wrestlers looking to go down a weight? I don't know if you know specifically, who's up or down, but just in general, there is a lot of variance to the brackets that get set here at Rollie Lane.
There are, and I've talked to some kids already that are going up or going down. And, we've seen it a lot the last 2 weeks, though, with the Reno tournament where they're using the other weight classes. So you've got, state rankings where a lot of the 70-pounders were down at 65 for Tournament of Champions. In the Sierra Nevada Classics, Minico had, The Anderson kid cut down to 65. So they had two placers at 165. They had Twist at second, Anderson at fourth or fifth. And so you're seeing it already where the weight class is 165. You see a lot of 70s cut down. You see a lot of 82 pounders going down to 75. And that's really what we have at Rollie Lane at 64, 74. And, the rest of the weights, you don't see it as much until you get up there to past 152, just because it is what it is. And, they're cutting down in the 4 pounds, but you'll see it to some extent. I don't know particularly what matchups we're going to miss out on. I would assume like Hudson Rogers will be down at 82 for this. He's not going to stay up at 95 for this, I would guess. I don't know, Al, if you've heard who's cutting down for sure.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So kids have certified this year. So say you weigh 128.5, you certify for 132s. So even though this is 26 or whatever, say the weight's 26, you get 4 pounds, you still can't go down that lower weight because you certified for the other, right?
For the state tournament, but for Raleigh, they could go down. So
they can go down even though they may have certified for the weight. Say you certify for 132. Say you don't make 26s, but you weighed 128.5. So you certify for the 132. Even though Raleigh's given 4 pounds, you can make that weight. I'm not sure if you can go that weight. I mean, what is the rule?
So you're saying the lowest they certify for is
say you weighed 128.5,
yeah.
So you didn't certify for 126 for the season, but you're certified for 132 because you didn't make the 126 per se. But even though you can make 130 because they're giving you a 4 pound allowance, I'm not sure if you can go that weight.
Yeah,
that's my question.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. If you haven't certified for that at the beginning of the season, if you certified at 113 or 114, you can't go down to 13 even if there's a 4 pound allowance.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Have to certify the weight class.
Yep.
Okay.
A couple of people have chimed in with that. Now, Tom says they can descend with a safe plan per the IHSAA. I don't know what that all entails, Brian, but it sounds like it would be hard. So I don't know. Anything you got to go to the IHSAA with is not going to be an easy process. So but that was a great question, Al. That was I really liked that discussion you and Brian were having there for sure. Okay. Chris says, the 4 pounds creates some fun chaos as well. So.
It does. It does.
That's kind of what you have to do, right, Brian? You just got to roll with it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
happens.
absolutely. And that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of matchups we're not going to get to see at state and stuff because of that 4 pound allowance, So yeah, let's just sit back and enjoy it and see who drops a weight class for this tournament. Bishop Kelly, get them a chance to get some more kids in the tournament because they can cut. You got the Valdez brothers. Split them up for a tournament because of the weight allowance. Who knows? It's going to be a lot of fun though.
Yeah, just what BK needed. Yeah. more assistance, right? For sure. Jason says Malia Garcia from New Plymouth is going to be tough. Giving a shout out there to New Plymouth. Let's see. Amy says Tucker Bowen gets to represent Soda Springs at Rollie Lane this year. I'm not sure, but he may be the first they have ever sent. Al, that's exciting. We talked about Tucker a couple weeks ago, and of course he was on that list of commits we just showed going to Wyoming. First in school history, though. That's a big deal.
Wow, that's great. That's great. No, he's a tough kid. He's tough. He's one of that top tier kids. So be good to see him against all the other divisions.
Yep. That's going to be really fun for sure. So, and speaking of, we were talking about all these kids that have committed to the next level. Al, another kind of list you've been working on and you were sharing in the group chat a little bit are the wrestlers. Of course, IdahoSports.com. We do our rankings, right? Where we rank all the kids just in Idaho based on their weight classes. But there are a couple of places that do national rankings as well, Al, and I don't even know where to begin with some of that. That would be a big undertaking. But Al, you put together a list of some of the Idaho standouts that are nationally ranked this year. This is a pretty impressive list here.
They're starting to grow. They're starting to take notice. Like I said a couple of years ago, goal is to get our kids out there, get them recognized. They're doing the work, and now they're getting rewarded for it. As you can see, Mac Mauger, he's proven himself on the national scale. He's ranked in the 2 different rankings. He's ranked in the top 15, which really, when you look at 14, difference between him and the kid ranked 4th is about the same kid. It's a cluster, really tight knit. Talon Eck, he's an honorable mention. Coulter Burton, Carson Expert, Mara. Mara wasn't even ranked in the top 20 in flow, but he beats the number 11 kid who beat the number 3 kid, and so he's right there. Martino Skellinger, who's going to Doc B this weekend, he's going to see some tough competition. And then Shiloh Jones, he's in the top 20. You look at the girls. Right now there's 4 girls. Cadence Gerg, who's not wrestling high school style. She's the number 1 in the country. I wish she was wrestling collegiate style wrestling in the high school. It'd be great to watch her compete. But Jolie Slider, who's been putting in a lot of time, she's in the top 20 along with Claire Waite and Zoe Fry. So that's pretty good representation. I think last year we had up to 9 girls. I don't think it's difficult to surmise that with the number of grassroots efforts coming, we're seeing some of the younger middle school and grade school girls do really well. So I think that number is going to grow in the years to come, along with the boys.
It's an impressive list for sure. And one of the standout grapplers on this list was our Idaho Wrestler of the Week. I'll see if anyone in the chat wants to venture a guess as to who we selected, and then we'll unveil who our Idaho Wrestler of the Week is. But this is a new feature that we're doing, guys, where we kind of look at what happened over the past week, and maybe it was a really standout performance, somebody that just jumped off the page at us. And basically, we're going to honor them here on the show with the Wrestler of the Week honors. We'll put their picture up and their bio, their academic accomplishments, their athletic accomplishments as well. And so last week or 2 weeks ago, we did our very first one. It was Jason Mara from Meridian. Nobody wants to guess, so I guess I'm just going to reveal it, guys. Our athlete or our Wrestler of the Week is none other than the pride of Thunder Ridge. It's Talon Eck. And Al, this is a well-deserved honor for sure.
Yeah, he made the finals of the Sierra Nevada Classic. Just to make the finals, he went through 2 California kids who were ranked in the top 15. They were really talented kids. He met Quintero of Southern Cal down in the finals. That kid's ranked in the country right now ahead of him, but he gave him a good match. I think he had beaten him before, but this is not only a solid kid on the mat, he's a great student, great kid. Hopefully he'll be picking a school soon. I hope other schools are looking at him out there in the colleges. Great kid, hard worker, and I wish him the best.
Brian, I had to go with the really small font to get all of his wrestling accolades up on the screen. I think what stands out is 2-time All-American in both at junior nationals, 2-time state champion, 3-time district champion, so he could go for 4 district titles a little bit later on this season. But again, we talked about at the top, look at that GPA, 3.9, and also a member of the National Honor Society as well.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Just another one of those great kids. And I've literally watched Talon since he was 5 years old wrestling. Saw him this week before they headed to Sierra Classic, as I had his ring from the ring ceremony. They stopped by the house. Just amazing kid. So it's going to be well-deserved this week. Congratulations, Talon.
Yeah. And when I wrote his article, I learned a lot about him and his love for wrestling early on in his career. I mean, he broke his arm a couple times, and the average person would have quit, never came back to wrestling. But his good friend Ramos, who was a Greco national champion, I believe, he wanted to wrestle with him. And after several years, he came back, and he's still going hard. That just tells you about his character and his background. Great family, great athlete.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome job. Talon Eck, the 120-pound senior from Thunder Ridge, our Idaho Wrestler of the Week. Jacob says, "Ayo, nephew, Raleigh time next." And Bridget from Post Falls says, "Congrats, Talon," as well. So, Al, we have gotten some questions about, hey, how come you're not giving any love to the great girls that are wrestling in the state of Idaho? And we thought about doing, two Wrestlers of the Week, right? One boy, one girl, but we really wanted to make it, okay, here is the one singular standout. But we are keeping in mind kind of how many boys versus how many girls, and we are going to get that as close to equal as we can throughout the season. So I would say stay tuned. Some girls are probably going to be coming up. So Yep. All right. Moving on. Let's talk about. So we've kind of hit Rollie Lane real quick. I put this together, and then a lot of teams got added late. But here's kind of a cursory list of all of the schools that will be competing at Rollie Lane. And again, there's already some that are not on here, like Buhl on the girls' side, Kellogg, Pocatello were just a couple I noticed right away. But the teams that we've highlighted in yellow are teams that are ranked in their respective state. And Eagle here in green or in pink is the number one girls team in Idaho right now currently. So, I mean, Brian, when you look at this list, it's not comprehensive by any stretch, but man, we've got some big heavy hitters coming to Rollie Lane.
Yeah. I mean, the team title's up for grabs. Post Falls, Meridian. You got the 5A battle there with Minico. The 4A, likely champ is there. Madison, who we talked about, has got a great team doing well at duels. American Falls, one of the top 3A. It's too bad we don't have South Fremont and Buhl here too in the boys tournament, because we have a true state championship bracket here, because all the heavy hitting teams are here. I don't know who I've got. It's going to be interesting to see Minico, Post Falls, Meridian. I think those three schools are going to be in it, but there's a lot of other teams that could be pushing. So, and then the out of state schools kind of make it hard to handicap as well.
Yeah, Al, do you have a good read on the out-of-state schools? I mean, Wasatch Academy from Utah is no joke. Maybe not as strong as they've been historically, but I think also, I'm looking at Othello, Washington, and I know they are a very strong program year in, year out also.
Yeah, Othello's, I think, number 2 in the 2A. Lake Stevens, number 6 in their 4A. Chiawana, number 2 in the 4A. Central Valley, they're in the top 15 in the 4A. I know Gonzaga Prep had a few good kids last couple of years, so they may bring a few kids. But that's about all I know right now. I think Riverton, Utah is pretty tough as well as Redmond and La Grande, Oregon has done well in their state tournaments as well.
Yeah, so. Bruce says Lake Stevens out of Washington is always tough. Jacob says BK will be the Raleigh champs if Skellinger stays Brian Skellinger. I don't know. Okay. I would normally and Bishop Kelly is a team that's missing on this list, of course. And Lewiston's going to be there also. And again, if your school is coming to Rollie Lane and you're not on this list, let us know in the comments so we can give them, their proper due. Jacob says Crook County from Oregon is tough out. Mountain View, Oregon has the Tasmanian Devil known as Scout Santos at 126 or 132, depending on where he decides to go. Yeah. What a nickname too. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And so I would normally, I like Bishop Kelly in a lot of tournaments, but I just don't know if they have the depth, Brian, to pull off a Rollie Lane victory. I think they could finish pretty high, but we talked about with Bishop Kelly, really good talent at the top, but it's kind of a tightrope that they've got to walk sometimes.
It is. And the other thing that they're going to be missing this week is Skellinger, because he's down at Doc Bennett. That hurts, because that's one of the, should have been would have most likely been a finalist at Raleigh. So I think that hurts BK. But, we talk about their depth, but they went to, was it the tournament in Glens Ferry, and took mostly their JV. And I think their JV took second at that tournament this week with 13 or 14 teams. So, they might surprise some people with the depth. Meridian, it's hard to bet against them. They're back-to-back 5A state champs, and, they're going to have Rogers and Mara and several other kids right there in the thick of it. Nampa's going to have some kids place. Post Falls could literally come in and just shock everyone. And I guess it wouldn't be a shock, because they've done well at Tri-State. They've got a good, solid team, the depth. And then another one that was on the list was Joab, Utah. I think they're ranked number 3 in Utah. It's a smaller school, but, ranked overall number 3 team in Utah right now coming up. So that, that could be an outside dark horse too.
Yeah, and we got Fruitland, American Falls too.
Yeah.
They're both ranked in the top of their divisions as well.
True.
Middleton will be pretty solid. I don't know if they'll challenge for top 5, but they'll be in the thick. But definitely Post Falls, they bring back like 8 kids that place at state. Plus they had a lot of reserves. So
yeah, I'm kind of leaning with you guys. Meridian, Post Falls. I think Minico, has a chance to be, in the mix. I don't know if they can pull it off necessarily, but I think they'll be right there as well. I think I got Jacob's joke now. He said BK Raleigh champs if Skellinger stays. I got you now. Okay. took me a second to pick up what you were putting down there, Jacob. Yeah, Skellinger's going to Doc B. And we'll talk about Doc B, of course, coming up. But Jacob wanted to know, is Mara going to be there for Meridian? Is Ryder Seguin going to be there for Post Falls? Al, I think both those guys are going to be there. I mean, we don't. Hope. Yeah. And Bridget says no Ryder this year. Okay. That changes the calculus a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. Justin letting us know Canyon Ridge girls and boys will be there. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, this was not a complete list by any means. This is kind of, I grabbed it off the website, and when I got to the bottom and saw it only had 71 schools, and knowing that we were at 98, I was like, oh boy, yeah, there's going to be a couple missing off of this list. Jacob says it's just like Tri-State though. Points from the thoroughbreds. So Ryder is injured, I guess, guys, with a broken hand.
Get well soon.
Bummer. Man, that is a bummer. Hoyt wants to know, is Martino healed up, Al? I don't think so.
I haven't heard anything on the contrary that he's not. So
okay, good. Okay. Jacob says Nampa dark horse champs if they can keep all their guys at Raleigh.
They're tough. I watched them in Reno. Their kids are tough.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. And again, it is all about who can fill out the lineup the most efficiently for sure. So that's Rollie Lane. Let's talk about Doc B, because we've got a couple of kids going down to compete at this. I think Jacqueline was asking, is Matthew M going to be at Matt Mauger? I think she was asking about for Rollie Lane. He's going to Doc B, right, Al?
Yes, Mac Mauger is going for the third year. So, yes, he'll be there.
Okay. And who else is joining him that we know of?
To my knowledge, Jaden Skellinger from BK and Mauger, and I saw Idaho Falls in the list. So
Saxton Scott.
So yeah, let's just put in perspective what this tournament is. So if you break down tournaments like top tier, there's 3 levels. This is tier 1. So this is probably a top 3 or 4 tournament in the country. So basically where Rollie Lane's medal matches or finals where you have that caliber, that's round 1 at the Doc Buchanan. So it's the best of the best in the country. St. Edwards is going to be there, all the top California schools, and just studs from around the country. So this would be a big test for our kids there. I know they'll do well.
Yeah, for sure. So Jacqueline was asking earlier if Matthew M was going to be at Rollie Lane. Guys, I'm a little rusty. It's been 2 weeks. I went to Mac Mauger. She's obviously talking about Matt Martino from Bishop Kelly. So sorry about that, Jacqueline. And she said, yeah, no, from BK. So I guess we'll find out, but we haven't heard anything contrary.
Haven't heard anything on the contrary.
Okay. Jacob is wondering, is Mara going to a tournament in Cali? And he asked Brad Murai. So I guess if Brad has the answer, we'll find out. But
if anyone knows, coach knows.
Yes, for sure. That it can be kind of hard, Brian, to track down who's going where sometimes. It's hard for the coach, let alone, supposed experts like us.
Yeah. Supposed is the key term.
Yep, for sure. So it is going to be interesting. Allison says Packer, Banta, and Clark from South Fremont are all going to be at Raleigh, Al. And that's the other thing we see are the smaller schools, that your 3As and 2As will splinter off. If they've got kids that they think have a shot at going to Rollie Lane and competing for a title, I think you'd be crazy to deny your athlete that opportunity. And then you'll keep the rest of your team back, and South Fremont will do that, and they'll compete with everybody else at the Buhl Invite.
Yeah, we posed a question before, does every kid need to go to these national level tournaments? No. But if you're looking to go Division I and wrestle at that caliber, you can't be afraid to face that kind of comp. Like Mauger, he's been going to tough tournaments. Skellinger, they're going to, because that's what it's going to be like week in and week out in Division I. So you better start getting used to that caliber. And I admire them for putting it on the line. But yeah, I mean, Raleigh is a top tier tournament too. It's a tough tournament. So where our in-state kids are going to be challenged, which is great to see. It's going to, it's great to see.
Yeah. And so, Brian, we talked about with South Fremont sending those 3 studs to Raleigh, does that change the Buhl invite? Does Buhl now win that tournament kind of going away? Do we think? Can South still push them?
Yeah, I mean, it hurts that tournament as far as the gauge goes, is who's going to, take 3A, because if they both had full squads there, it would give us a lot better picture. But with South taking, 3 of their dogs to Raleigh, that changes the math. But what it does also is it makes Raleigh a lot more fun, because those 3 kids are going to take out some kids from these teams that might win it. And that's what it might take for somebody else to sneak through and win a team title, is hit, one of those weight classes with Bantapacker or Clark and lose one of their horses to one of those kids. So it makes the tournaments that much more fun, but it does, I think, affect Buhl as kind of the temperature gauge, so to speak, for the 3A title.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of second teamers, right? Varsity B guys. They call them JB, but the second teamer at Notre State, we have a lot of second teamers that are good.
Yeah.
That, may show, hey, it may even improve their stock after this tournament.
Yeah. And another example here of a guy splitting off to go to Raleigh, Googleman from American Falls is going to go to Raleigh and compete there. So be interesting.
Yeah. So are they at Buhl as well? Is that where American Falls is? I don't see them on the Buhl list. So I thought American Falls was bringing the whole squad, because that freshman we were talking about at 182, Blaze Turner, American Falls, I thought he was going to be at Raleigh too. So
maybe that was just a shout out.
Could be.
Yeah. Yep. And Bridget says, let's go, Nate. So there you go. Yep. And yeah, Nate says all of AF will be at Raleigh, men's and women's. So way to go, Beavers, for sure. Yeah. Sue-Ann says the whole team. Okay. Question for Al. We were talking about Doc B. Xavier wants to know, is that a top 5 tournament in the country, Al?
Without a doubt. It's tougher than, it's top 5. Definitely a top tier. Tier 1.
With that in mind, what would you define as a successful trip for our Idaho athletes that are going down there to compete? Obviously, titles would be nice.
A place in the top 8.
Yeah.
A kid taking 8th there could easily be 3rd or 4th. It's how close it is. Sort of like what we saw with Marga, Cepeda, and Ethan Parko. They're all within 1 second of beating each other, right? There's going to be a lot of close matches. So the depth is pretty good.
Yeah. Sean says you take top 8 in Doc B. Yeah, that's something to be proud of when you come home, for sure. Kevin giving a shout out to Price Thomas from Glens Ferry. He'll be at Raleigh competing. So, all right, here we go. Price, the pilot from Glens Ferry. Love it for sure. So, yeah, there's going to be some really good. I mean, now that we're into the new year, I mean, we hit Rollie Lane and it's kind of like, okay, we are at a little jog in December, Brian, and now we're sprinting to the finish line. Everybody can kind of see it on the horizon.
So. Yeah, here we go. Right, we're the thick of it. The next 3-4 weeks, there's some big tournaments coming up, and kicking it off with a bang with Raleigh. I can't wait to see one of the best weekends of the year for sure.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on Rollie Lane this weekend. We'll keep an eye on the Buhl Invitational, of course. We will keep an eye on Doc B and our Idaho wrestlers down there competing. And I'm really interested in that battle for the M tri-duel on Thursday night too, Al. That'll be fun. The winner gets your hat as well as the trophy.
The stakes have risen.
Yeah. Shoot. For sure. Well, in the meantime, of course, you can always find good wrestling content at IdahoSports.com on the homepage. Our team rankings and individual rankings, those usually come out, Wednesday, with it being a holiday week. Nobody really worked on Monday because it was New Year's Day. Might be a day late, but stay tuned. We will have those updated rankings for you coming out of the post-Christmas break. Of course, Al just did a recent it just landed today on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. Your latest hidden gems of Idaho prep wrestling with Jake Castanetto from Bishop Kelly, formerly of Glens Ferry.
Great kid, great family, hard worker. You want to talk about commitment, a kid that really loves the process of training hard. I mean, he's the kid. He's been exposed to a lot of great coaching and background, but his work ethic is second to none. Great kid.
Yeah, and see, I'm shocked that I got his name right because I'm accustomed to his older brother Wyatt Castanetto. I covered him.
State champion, right? 3-time placer.
Yeah, and a heck of a baseball player too. I covered him at the state baseball tournament a couple times. Really good catcher. So I'm shocked that I said Jake and not Wyatt because in my head I was thinking Wyatt the whole time. So I'm glad I got that out. But of course, you can always find Al's latest hidden gems and our rankings and all that great stuff right on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. But thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to the Idaho Matt Chat Prepcast. If you could hit that like button real quick before you head out for the evening and share this, it'll help everybody that wasn't here live tonight find things a little easier. But until next time, for Al and Brian, I'm Brandon. Enjoy the competition this weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday night live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, as well as the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page as well for another edition of the Matt Chat Prepcast, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific time every Tuesday night on IdahoSports.com. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Be there.
Going to be lots to talk.